Have you ever been handed something so worthless that everyone laughed at you for accepting it? Now imagine, years later, that worthless thing turns out to be more valuable than anything they ever owned. This is the unbelievable story of a young widow mocked by her in-laws, humiliated in front of the whole town, and the rusted old van they gave her as an inheritance. A van so beaten down, it looked like scrap metal. But what her in-laws didn't know was that inside this ugly, forgotten van lay a fortune so great it would change her life forever, and when the truth came out, those who mocked her were left speechless. Maria was only 27 when her world shattered. Her husband Daniel, the man who had been her protector, her safe place, died suddenly in a tragic accident. The silence that filled her small home after his death was unbearable. She had no children, no savings, and no family nearby. But what hurt even more than her loss was the cruelty of Daniel's family. They had never truly accepted her. To them, Maria had always been beneath their son. At the funeral, instead of comforting her, they whispered words sharper than knives. "She'll have nothing now," one muttered. Another said, "Daniel married beneath him." Maria kept her head down, silent. But one memory of Daniel kept haunting her. Just weeks before his death, he had looked at her with unusual seriousness and said, "If anything ever happens to me, don't argue with them. Don't fight. Just take what they give you. Promise me, Maria." At the time, she hadn't understood. But now, that strange warning echoed in her heart. 2 weeks later, Maria was summoned to Daniel's family home. His parents, brothers, and sister gathered in the living room, faces cold and smug. On the table lay Daniel's will and the division of family possessions. The father, sharp and bitter, read it out loud. "All family assets remain within the family: the house, the land, the jewelry, the business. As for Maria..." He paused dramatically, smirking before he delivered the humiliation. "She inherits the old van, that rusted piece of junk sitting in the barn." The siblings burst into laughter, shaking their heads. Even Daniel's mother smirked. Maria sat frozen, her cheeks hot. A van? A worthless, rusted van? That was all? The injustice was clear, but worse was the deliberate mockery. They wanted to see her beg, to see her crumble. But Maria did not give them the satisfaction. She quietly signed the papers, whispered, "Thank you," and walked to the barn. There, covered in dust, stood the van, forgotten and unloved. She ran her hand over its peeling paint and took the keys. The next morning, Maria climbed inside the rusted vehicle. The engine coughed, smoke rose, and the doors squeaked. Behind her, Daniel's brothers stood smirking. "Drive carefully, Maria," one called out. "That van's worth a fortune in scrap metal." Their laughter rang in her ears as she drove away. Maria gripped the wheel tightly, her knuckles pale. But then her eyes caught the old rosary Daniel had once tied to the rearview mirror. It swung gently as the van rattled forward, almost like a secret message. Her lips trembled, but she smiled faintly. "Maybe you left me more than they think," she whispered. For weeks, Maria used the van sparingly. It barely ran, but she couldn't part with it. Each time she sat behind the wheel, memories of Daniel came flooding back. Long drives, ice cream by the roadside, late-night laughter. The van was worthless to the world, but it was the last piece of him she had. Then one rainy evening, while driving home, the engine began making strange noises. She pulled over and decided to check under the seats. As she lifted the worn carpet, her fingers brushed something hard and metallic. Curious, she tugged harder and discovered a hidden compartment. Her heart pounded as she opened it. Inside lay several small boxes, With trembling hands, she opened the first one and nearly gasped out loud. Gold bars, dozens of them, each stamped, each shining. Her breath came fast as she opened another box, diamonds, another, bundles of crisp cash. Maria's body shook with disbelief. It was a fortune, far greater than anything her in-laws had stolen from her. Tears blurred her vision as she remembered Daniel's strange words. Don't fight them. Just take what they give you. Now she understood. Daniel had known his family too well. He knew their greed, their cruelty. So he hid everything where they would never dare to look, in the very van they despised. He had left it all for her, in secret, knowing only she would find it. Maria didn't rush to spend it. She moved carefully, selling only a little at a time. The first bar of gold gave her enough to rent a modest apartment in the city. Then she poured her heart into a dream she and Daniel once shared, opening a bakery. On the first day, her hands shook as she unlocked the door of her tiny shop. She placed Daniel's photo on the counter and whispered, "Let's do this together." At first, customers trickled in slowly, but the smell of fresh bread and pastries drifted down the street, drawing more and more people. The shop soon buzzed, with laughter and warmth. Months passed, and success grew. By the end of the year, Maria owned 3 bakeries, each filled with loyal customers and cheerful staff. Every night she locked the doors, looked at Daniel's picture, and whispered, "We made it, love." Meanwhile, her in-laws' lives unraveled. The business they had hoarded fell apart under mismanagement. Debts piled up. The house was mortgaged. Jewelry was sold. Yet they couldn't ignore the whispers of Maria's growing success. Jealousy burned in them. "She doesn't deserve this," Daniel's sister hissed. One day, desperate and bitter, Daniel's father stormed into her bakery. "Maria," he sneered, "you've done well, but remember, you belong to us. Whatever you have, it came from our son. You should share it." Maria met his eyes calmly. "Share?" she asked. "You laughed when you gave me the van. Do you remember?" His face twisted. "Yes, but—" She cut him off. "That van was mine. You all agreed. And everything I built came from what you dismissed. So no, I owe you nothing." For the first time, he stood speechless, powerless before the woman he once mocked. Eventually, the truth leaked out. A mechanic who had once worked on the van told someone about the hidden compartments. Soon, the story spread like wildfire. The widow mocked by her in-laws, humiliated with a rusted van, only to discover inside it a fortune in gold and diamonds. The same people who had pitied her now admired her strength, her success, and her quiet triumph. Her in-laws, once so proud, now couldn't step outside without hearing the whispers. Fools. They laughed at gold. Maria kept the van safe in storage. Sometimes she would sit inside, close her eyes, and remember Daniel. She never cared for revenge, never gloated at her in-laws' downfall. What mattered to her was the love hidden in that van, a love that had given her not just wealth, but strength to rise. And when people asked her how she had done it, she would only smile and say, "Sometimes what looks worthless to the world is the very thing that can change your life forever."